Welcome back. So for our final portion, we're going to show you how to make a fun little cupcake tower or cake stand, whatever you want to do. It's just made out of, some cake boards and some really tall plastic cups. So let's get to this. So the first thing you want to do is get some cake boards. You can buy them at Walmart. There we go. At Goodies. Funfinity, Hobby Lobby, places like that. I know in Walmart they usually sell them in these really huge packs of 10 or 12 or something like that. So if you don't want to buy that many, Hobby Lobby or Michael's or things like that usually have a smaller pack. This one only has 6 in there, and so that usually works really well for me, especially because I may not be using that many or something like that. You can also buy pre-colored, pre-foiled little cake boards, something like this, and use them as your bottom stands, and that just saves you time on everything. You don't have to cover it up or anything like that. But once you have your cake boards, one thing you want to notice is the way the corrugation runs in your cake board. I usually use 2 just for stability. You can use 3 or 4 or 10 or however many you want to use. But I'll usually turn it. This one is running sideways, and then this back one is running up and down. So I just turn it so that they're crisscrossing each other, and that just adds more stability to your little cake board. Then you're going to take some tape and tape these guys together so they don't move around. And then we're going to cover this in our paper. And you can use any kind of paper. You can use the fancy foil that is meant for the cake decorating. That works out well because if any frosting or cake or anything like that gets onto the paper, then it doesn't show, the fancy foil doesn't show all the grease that can come off of it. Then you're going to cut out, and I already pre-cut just a little round circle. I took my 10-inch board and I measured out a circle, and then I cut around it for my 8-inch board, and that usually gives you enough room to wrap it. And then, so you put it in the center, and then we're going to make some cut marks into it. But usually while I'm cutting, my cake board likes to slide around. So again, little piece of double-sided tape onto your cake board, and then push it down onto your paper, and that way it won't move around on you while you're cutting. So then we're going to just make some cuts on the paper, and you want to cut all the way up to the board. You don't want to just, cut part way or something. Some of these need to be cut a little bit more. If it's not cut all the way, then it'll rip when you fold these over and around your cake board. So you want to make sure that they're cut all the way. And then the cuts that you make, you're going to go straight to the board. You don't want to cut on the side or at an angle or anything like that. You're going to cut straight to the board. And so you get these tiny little, there we go, these tiny little cuts like this that are kind of shaped differently at an angle like that. Okay, so now we've got all of our pieces of tape ready, and we're going to start pulling this up to the center of the board. And I can usually cover or stick down, there we go, about 3 of these little cut pieces of paper per strip of tape. And that just helps so I don't have to tape each individual one. It goes faster, saves on tape too, and just works out a lot better. But you do want to make sure that you tape it pretty well so that when you're sliding it later on, whether you're sliding it, onto the cake board or whatever's underneath it or something like that, you want to make sure that none of these little papers are going to rip off and catch whatever you're sliding it on. And that's mostly for if you're covering this to be the actual cake board that the cake sits on. For something like this little cupcake tower, it's not going to be sliding on anything, so you don't have to worry too much about taping every single little piece down. Okay, so we're almost done with this here. Got a couple more pieces to tape down, just 4 more, and I think we'll make it with how much tape I prepared, thank goodness. Okay, and 2 more, and we'll do 1 more little extra piece just to make sure this last little flap gets covered. I just don't want any little flaps sticking out to get caught on. Okay, so we've got our nice little covered cake board here that we're going to be using. So now we're just going to take one of our disposable plastic cups, and I like to use the white ones because they don't show up very much behind whatever you're doing. You can also stuff them with things that help decorate whatever you're doing. Yeah, they just work really well. And I like the larger ones because they have a larger circumference and it adds for better stability, which is really great. You really want to make sure that you have enough stability with this so it doesn't tip over and knock over everything you just made. Okay, so we've got our glue gun here heated up and ready to go. So I'm just going to put some glue on the top part of this. Let's get our glue stick down in there. There we go. A new glue stick, it doesn't want to go. There we go. So you just want to make sure you've got plenty of hot glue on there. And if you are really particular, you can make sure, you can measure it out and make sure, whoo, you don't want to bend that. There we go. You want to make sure that you've got it in the right spot in the center there. And there we go. We've got a nice sturdy little cake platter for you. And I did 2 of them right here so you can stack them up like that. The large, this is an 8-inch round board. It fits usually about 6 cupcakes, maybe 7 with one in the middle. It depends on how big your decorations are and everything. So that you can usually say, 8-inch minus 2, that's how many cupcakes it'll be. So this 10-inch one minus 2 fits about 8 cupcakes, especially because if you do stack them, you're going to have this center cup taking up room. So you'll fit only about 8 cupcakes there, and then you can keep going. Also, you can put more cupcakes underneath the cupcake tower, so that works out really great. You don't have to make it that tall to fit that many cupcakes. The last thing that I wanted to show you is how to decorate these really fun. You can just take some ribbon, like I did with this one, this green one here, and you can hot glue it and wrap it around the front of here just to kind of give it some more decoration or something like that. There's lots of different types of ribbons. There's some that have little jewels that hang down. Those are really fun to use. It's anything goes. I know at different teacher supply stores, those little corrugated things that you can use around the chalkboards and around the bulletin boards, you can use that. Those work really well because it adds some height to it, and so if you don't want this cake board to show and you don't want to cover it up or something, you can just put one of those strips around there and it hides everything except the cupcake that's on top, which works out really, really good. The last thing too that I wanted to mention is if you're worried about the stability of your cupcake tower, if you just want to make sure it doesn't fall over, you can always take a cake board underneath it and glue that down, and then you'll have it down on your plate like that, and that way it doesn't have that possibility of tipping over. It adds more stability to it. You can always glue this down too so it doesn't move around and everything. Just as soon as you're ready, you can do that. And so this is just a really great, fun, and cheap way, inexpensive way to create a cupcake tower if you can't go out and buy all the fun stands that they have. And sometimes you may have stands already, but it's just not exactly what you want to go with the whole theme of everything. I really like some of mine that I have, but sometimes they're colored or things like that, and you can only use them for one project. So anyway, so that's our show for today. It's been really fun sharing some of these design techniques with you. If you have some really fun ways that you've decorated your plates or your boxes or different ways that you've displayed your cakes, I would really love to see them. So feel free to email those to me or your questions or comments at apieceofcake21@gmail.com, and we'll see you next time.